Panther Nation, it's the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
We're gonna go out there and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win, because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose.
Well, this embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we do. We keep pounding, folks. It's the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Do it each and every week with my homeboys. I'm here with Mel Mayock tonight, coming back. I think I've hung out with you more in the last 2 weeks than ever, and I haven't even been in physical, in the same room as you via the internet. But good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Professor, man. I tell you, for May 2nd, I cannot believe how much Panther stuff we have to talk about. There is so much going on. We got to get right into it. It's crazy.
Joe Riolano from the Low Country, how you been, man?
Everything is good down south here in the Low Country. We are enjoying a beautiful day today. My gracious, we are blessed to live in a place where the weather gets this good. I am pumped, stoked, and ready to get this ball rolling when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. Folks, we in the house.
Man, tonight's show is Panthers draft, Boston cut, and conspiracies afoot. This is episode 17.13, and we had the draft this past weekend, so we have a lot to talk about. Tre Boston was cut today, as well as these shenanigans, as one reporter from the Charlotte Observer put it, with Buffalo snagging some spots from the draft from us. So we'll be talking about all of that, plus the Panthers draft picks, each and every one, and see what the reaction was. And we'll even hear about that live draft party and see how that was this past week, because we partied for 2 nights watching the Panthers draft. So everybody listen, go ahead, smash the like button. Give the show a share. We would really appreciate that. You can follow each and every one of us on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @cat_chronicles. And if you like what you hear on the show, consider fan funding through our Patreon account, where you just could give as little as $1 a month to help this broadcast continue. All right, guys, the NFL draft was this past week. We got to talk about this. Is that the first round, there was craziness that goes down with the Chicago Bears. We've talked ad nauseum about this on the draft shows, so we won't get into that too much. But then the Panthers come in, and there's essentially three picks for them to choose from in the first round. You had Christian McCaffrey, then you had Jamal Adams and O.J. Howard, that the Panthers have reporting that they were all considering taking. Jamal Anderson's off the board. The Panthers go with Christian McCaffrey, and all of a sudden Cam Newton's got his playmaker. Mel, I know you were happy to see that.
I really was, man. I tell you, that was the guy I've been calling for, that I wanted. And it's not necessarily I thought he was the best player in the draft, but he's the most exciting, and he is the most versatile by far. So great pick. I'm excited.
Joe, the Panthers continued to address the offense and then go after Curtis Samuel in the second round. Was surprising, right? Because you had this running back who was he's of a smaller stature. He's a smaller running back in the first round that was considered your explosion, and then they double dip with an explosive player in the second round at pick 40. And you never know, this guy might be the most explosive out of everybody when it's all said and done, Joey.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Old Gettleman likes to do the double dipping. He likes 2 scoops, and that's exactly what he got. He went second round and grabbed. It's Curtis Samuel, isn't it? Not Chris.
Yes.
I keep wanting Chris, but it's Curtis Samuel from Ohio State. Kid is he's a rocket, man. This kid can fly.
4.31.
Yeah, that's a burner. That really is a burner. He is 196 pounds, so he's even a little smaller than McCaffrey, but he's faster.
Oh,
And
yeah, like a big jump.
That's what we need, really. We've been needing that speed, somebody that can just turn it on and cause the defense fit, which he's going to be able to do. Now, I'm sure we'll get to this later. It's just a matter of our offensive philosophy adapting to the players that we have on the team now.
He's 5'11", so he's not that little, right? He is 196 pounds, so you're going to use him as a wide receiver. And
Right.
this guy can, I mean, he's when I think about it, guys, I think about what the Panthers have tried to do in the past, and we've heard, well, we're going to see Devin Funchess in the slot. We're going to see Corey Brown sometime in the slot. Like, we keep hearing these things, and I don't know a ton about, like, what you should really do in an offensive scheme and what the appropriate person is. But when I think of a slot receiver, I don't think of like a 6'4" Funches. I think of a guy like this who can get lost in traffic, who's big enough and fast enough though to survive, right? Out there on the NFL field. And if you get this guy in open space, it's over. You know, I mean, this is a home run threat. I think this is just as much, if not more, of a home run threat than Christian McCaffrey. But, like, together, they're going to be like little. I just almost picture it like a little video game where these little dudes are just running all around circles over everybody.
Well, let's face it, Samuel is replacing Ted Ginn. That's what he is. I mean, they're virtually the same size. Ted Ginn's 5'11", 185. So Samuel's got a little bit of weight to him, and Ted Ginn's 40 was 4'2", and Samuel's is 4'3", so pretty much the same. I mean, he's taken his place to stretch the field, but he's also going. I guess he's going to play the slot more than Ginn did, but he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to stretch the defense a little bit, and then McCaffrey's going to be the guy to get the dump down passes.
I think
what's so beautiful about this is Samuel also has experience in the backfield, and we can have him and McCaffrey in there at the same time and do any number of combination of things where McCaffrey can move to the slot from the running back, from the I-back position. So it's really, I mean, talk about evolving. It's like a paradigm shift.
That's a good way of putting it, Joey. That's an excellent way of putting it. A paradigm shift. Or one maybe that was set up for the making. It would be interesting. I don't truly believe this was the case. I do believe that Gettleman has gotten somewhat as a year-to-year reactionary GM slightly. I thought he was more stay-the-course guy, but he has kind of, from last year, from going three corners, I mean, he rides this wave from left to right a little bit, or at least he's willing to. But I think that one of the things about Samuels that's so awesome is that he does, like you're saying, a little of everything, and he can be a better player than again, because I went back and watched the Ohio State game versus Michigan, and the first three plays of the game, essentially, he's involved in the read option. You know what I'm saying? And he runs it well. So one of the reasons I believe that Cameron Artis-Payne may or may not have cracked the roster or, ever been able to do that is maybe that wasn't a strength of his. I'm not completely sure about that, but this guy can be able to, like Joey is saying, is he's comfortable enough to where he can play those multiple roles better than anybody, and I think he could actually be very deadly, but instead, again, just with that straight line speed, I think he has a little bit more quickness to him because he's not so long. And so when you see an end around play with this kid like Ginn used to run, and he gets lost a little bit just because he's not, it's kind of hard to see him over the line, it's over.
He's exciting, man. That's one thing. This Carolina offense is going to be exciting. It's going to be must-see TV,
So I think that you get so many options, and I actually do believe, we've talked about this a couple of times. One of the questions when you do this paradigm shift, Joey, can Shula evolve with it? Can he be the mastermind or the leader of that offense? Joey, what do you think about it? Because I'm starting more and more to believe the answer is yes, because of what he was the timeliness of the offense he called in 2015.
Right. I think he has a game plan in mind of what he wants to do with these guys. And that little reverse that he used to run to Ted Ginn is now going to be much more of a dangerous play, because Ted Ginn, if he was going, unimpeded, he could hurt you. But if he had people to get around and, a defense pursuing him, it was a little more, the likelihood of success was a little bit more lessened. But they're used to putting moves on guys and making cuts and taking the backside of a play.
Right. A play that's not as perfect. You know what I'm saying? Right. Is that it doesn't have to be the wide open lane. Because if Ginn got down the sideline and nobody was coming after, it was over. It was that first 6 yards that's the problem. So they got a little more wiggle, it looks like, to them. But think about this. What about this, Joey? Is you get a defense moving right, okay? And you run with McCaffrey and Newton. So you essentially run like an option threat with McCaffrey and Newton, and then McCaffrey takes the handoff, and then he does the toss to Curtis Samuel. You're going to have the entire defense going one way because you've got Cam Newton as a running threat. You've got Christian McCaffrey as a running threat, and these are explosive ones. These aren't little ones. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then you get that whole defense going the other way, and Curtis Samuel comes around the end. It's over, man. Over.
And that's the beauty of it, because now the defenses are going to have to play. They can't overplay anything. They have to stay on any backside threat. Going to be less people moving to the ball,
and the defense has to show their cards early, right? I mean, they have to show what they're doing when McCaffrey goes out in motion from the backfield out into the slot or something, anything like that. How they're going to guard him is going to tell you what type of defense they're in,
right? And we're going to be able to dictate to the defense what we want to do, and then we'll run a power off tackle, right, maybe 4 times, half a dozen times, and the next thing you know, we run a half tackle power up to the right, and then it's a reverse.
Yeah.
So now
you get them working. It's all you're slowly getting in their heads that they're starting to compensate. You're starting to tire them down. You can move this offense very quickly as well if you chose to. You know what I'm saying?
They're going to open up for us so many different ways.
If Kelvin Benjamin can keep up with getting to the first down line. Think about it. Christian McCaffrey's going to take 120 yards, and damn, Kelvin Benjamin's going to have to be huffing and puffing up to the line.
Well, did y'all hear Harris Teeter is out of donuts?
Oh, no.
It's funny you say that. There's definitely a concern about his weight. And, he may not be up to 280, but from what I'm hearing, it's, he's fat.
Yeah. I'm here. But they signed him for his 5th year. They exercised, and then today's timeline was just 2,000 jokes, and I was in on it on the exercise 5th year option. They kept coming and coming and coming. It's like it was so easy, right? But at least they did it. So I don't think Gettleman, he might know that. You have to, I guess. Or would you make him prove it? If you didn't do it this year, you get him this year, right?
Right.
And then you would just have to, and he would be a free agent at the end of the year. He better get it together. He better get it together, or else he's going to be the 4th or 5th star on a team, even if he gets it together.
Right.
He's going to be way down the list. Is that you should have been in the shape now, because now you got all these dudes throwing shade on you, and they're going to be shining. You're going to be left in the dust.
But let me tell you, man, if KB is the player he was as a rookie with McCaffrey and Samuel, and
it'll be nice.
It'd be the number one offense in the league again.
I don't know. I guess it does. So the actual thought about the option, though, is that how much does it really cost? Because I think it does drop next year, like $8 million or something like that. It costs for him or something. I don't remember what the number is, but it's pretty high. So you got to think about that. Is that you're actually saying you're putting some faith in him for that 5th year too, because you may run the risk of being in the scenario where you need him, and then you got to pay like top dollar for him.
Oh.
All right,
hey guys, I hate to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I hate to rub salt in the wounds, but when you talk about Curtis Samuel, you got to. I have to think our target right there was your ECU wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's hard not to think it. That's for sure, right?
Yep.
I mean, what you have is you've got a team. If you're looking at what happened and transpired around 36 to 37 to 40, is that Sean McDermott, who essentially led. Now, there's even a little bit more to it that is not direct evidence supporting this, is that the day after the draft was over and concluded, the Buffalo Bills fired their entire coaching staff, scouting staff, and their GM, Whaley.
Yeah.
So then it comes out that McDermott was pretty much the sole voice, or at least his crew was in who they actually selected. And then what do you get? There's 2 guys that the Panthers had been targeting that the Buffalo Bills trade up to get. So in the first round, they jump up to 37 from like 44, I believe, or somewhere in there, 47, whatever. I think they got 3 spots ahead of us. And then you got to think this. What did the Chargers pick in the first round, guys?
Wide receiver.
That's right. So the idea is that you trade with and you got the Chargers behind, like in between you. Like those people, they're not going to get a wide receiver. And then the Jets, they turned out to not pick a wide receiver in the entire class. So those are the 2 teams after that the Bills jumped ahead of, the Chargers. But they knew that they were going to have to jump. If they did it, they could sneak right in there. And they were going after a receiver, and they knew those 2 other teams weren't going after for a receiver. So they knew it was to get in front of Carolina. They grabbed Zay Jones. You have to believe all signs are pointing that was the target.
So if that happened once, you might say, well, maybe they like the same receiver and they figured they might be getting one because the Panthers lost 2 in the offseason. Okay, just good homework. That's astute study. They go in and get a guy that the Panthers have brought in. They liked him too. But that isn't the total story, right? I mean, that's what happened at pick 40. At pick 64.
Yes. Tell us what happens. Tell us what happens.
The Bills jump ahead of the Panthers to pick 63 and pick up another player that the Panthers had brought in for a visit, and they take Dion Dawkins, who we really were high on. Now, I don't know if he was higher on the board than Moten, but when you put both of those picks together, them jumping in front of us twice to get the same position that we got, man – something stinks.
Conspiracy is afoot, man. Conspiracy is afoot, and we know that Sean McDermott targeted these 2 players that the Panthers were interested in. And what I know is that my man, he went and got his job, and he was like, "This, I got to make the most of my job. I'm going to use any piece of information I know." But the Dion Dawkins, it was clear there. It would be, like you said, one thing in round 1. But this is distinctly to get ahead of the Panthers to 63. And I secretly think that Dion Dawkins?
Yep.
I looked at him, and I looked at Moten. I looked at both videos, and I looked at a couple of YouTube videos. And I got to think that Dawkins is he's got faster feet.
Yeah.
And so we don't get him. Yeah, okay. So then what happens after the firing goes down, and then, of course, who's interviewing for the Buffalo Bills job?
Oh, Brandon Beane.
Who is he? Tell everybody who this gentleman is.
Oh, he's been a front office exec for the Panthers for a long time. You know, and he was the salary cap guru. He managed our cap for our general manager. So now the theory is Beane is slipping information to McDermott in exchange for getting an opportunity for the GM job. Now, there is no proof of that, so I'm not saying that's definitely what happened. But, boy, you know, something stinks.
Here's the thing, is there's two potential storylines, and one of them is true, and maybe both of them are true. Right, the one is that Sean McDermott jumped ahead of the Panthers and poached 2 players, right, that we clearly had a lot of interest in. The other one is that there's this mole, and it's like a CIA story or something like that. Right. I don't think it's the latter, right? But if it was, I mean, would we all be, you know? But we know at the very minimum, the former is the truth, right? So. You know what he looks like to me, Brandon Beane? He kind of looks like the NFL Theo Epstein. Yeah. He's good looking, you know what I'm saying? He's good looking, he's young, so everybody's got this good, you know, I would not be surprised. But anyway, so that's good news, though, for I guess that the Panthers coaching tree is going on. The front office is moving on. But, I mean, you got to wonder, is there a mole? Is there a leak in the war room?
Yeah, you really do.
Well, it doesn't matter, really, because we get – go ahead, Joe.
I'm all for a good conspiracy, Illuminati.
Yeah.
We were involved somehow with the assassination of Kennedy and all that crazy.
Joe does like a good conspiracy theory more than me.
Yeah, I definitely do. But this seems, a little, I don't know. It seems like it would be such a slap in the face for someone who has been with the organization forever. He's the assistant GM, for crying out loud.
Right.
So I just, as funny.
Yeah, you gotta believe, right? You gotta believe that these guys take their jobs more seriously and their careers. Then I agree. Like you're right. And then the other thing to it is that even if these teams. The only thing is that it just so happened that the Panthers were the team that Buffalo knew they had to get in front of. Right. It's just so perfect, right? There is a little bit to it. There's knowledge of each organization. There's probably familiarity with the scouts and their trust of what they're reporting and some things like that. So, I mean, if McDermott was doing this, he would need to act in a way. Think about it. If you're the coach and all of a sudden the whole entire GM is secretly fired and all the scouts are going to be laid off, you got to think this as Sean McDermott, you got to be placing more. You got to be pulling out all the cards. Right? You calling anybody, calling in some favors then, because you got to draft. You're a new coach. You got to get your mess together quick.
Right. And he doesn't have 25 years of coaching behind him. Where he can go and say, okay, I'll take this guy from this team. I'll take this guy from this team.
Right. I'll call this agent. Yeah.
He only knows a couple of organizations. And on top of that, you have to think, we're thinking of the current football season in 2016, but their scouting department and their scouting staff, they're out there looking for players while the season's going on at the college level. So McDermott is going to know a lot of information about the guys the Panthers are interested in.
Sure.
Therefore, he's going to have a very sound background when it comes to certain.
Yeah.
And he knows that these guys are good. His coaching, I think, style is going to be similar, not necessarily exactly, but similar to what we do in Carolina. So he knows these guys will fit the scheme he's going to, play in.
Yeah. I mean, that part should not be surprising. It just is. It is kind of, you get reminded of it. That's, I think, what it was interesting, is because when you get those trades and then all of a sudden the whole buzz of the draft wears off and you go, dang it, Sean McDermott jumped in front of us twice. All right, so let's talk about the guy that they jumped in front of, who we immediately picked, which was Taylor Moton or Motten.
Yep.
Taylor
Moton.
Moton. Taylor Moton is I believe a West Michigan University. Is that what it is?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same place. What's his name went?
Corey Davis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a big dude. He's 319 or something like that. He's got these long arms. Mel, have you looked at anything? Because I watched his game against, I guess, Nebraska. So that's the one I went and watched closely. And he played against JT Watt, right? And he handled him just fine. But I did think he looked a little like, while he's big, he's strong, he's got these long arms. I thought his feet, his feet looked a little slow, but he was never out of position. His feet were always underneath him. So I think he's like kind of a more sound technique guy. And the only thing I see is, other than his length and his strength, because those are all good things, is that the idea that he's kicking, that he would be maybe susceptible to speed rush. That's the only thing I can think of. But he looks like he is a sound player.
He's got almost 11-inch hands. Think about that, dude. Yeah.
And he's an incredibly smart young man too, right?
Right.
I mean, he's,
Right.
He's definitely a technician. He's a student of the game. He's got a chip on his shoulder too, right? I mean, he big dude, but didn't get any love from his hometown Michigan guys. From Michigan didn't recruit him, so that's why he went to Western Michigan.
Dave Gettleman in the press conference said he was smart. He would be smarter than any guy in that room,
right?
And that really says a lot. So, I think with him, you're going to see sort of a Jordan Gross, because Jordan Gross wasn't necessarily a physical specimen. He was a big guy, don't get me wrong, but his technique was always perfect. That's why he was.
But I do see Moton as a right tackle.
Right.
He is a little bit heavier footed than, say, what you want at left tackle, but
yeah,
I think he's going to make a very solid, at least great competition at right tackle.
Here's the thing: is that he looks like this. He don't look like he's ever going to get pushed around. Let me just put it that way. Nobody's ever going to push around Taylor Moton. That they might get around him. They might get out of his grasp, but they ain't ever going to push that big man around. I couldn't imagine it. Like, who the heck? You a bad man if you push that dude around. That's what I said. But
and he's got grapevines for arms, man. You're not going to get around him real easy.
They are. His arms are crazy long. So that, I think, is he never looks. When I watched him play, and I watched the draft breakdown, and I also watched, like I said, that one game, is that he only got beat one time the entire game. He never got beat, right? Ever. Like, he just was always there. And
I think I read he gave up 2 sacks in his career there.
It was crazy. Like, he just was like you're trying to pick him apart, and I'm like, well, I guess his feet look giant and kind of sluggish, but they're always underneath him. They're always planted in the ground. He was never like flailing around or anything. Like, he was just always like perfect in stature, and it was pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a great value pick there at the end of the second round, I think.
I think I saw that, like, when you guys were talking about his intelligence. I think he was like he got like a certified accounting degree or something like that. Like, so my man's going to be the dude that comes in and negotiates his own contract.
There you go.
Right. But that's what you need as a guy. If that's where your game, if you got the physical body and you got the stature to do it, they're going to be able to coach him up to the highest level. He will be, as long as barring like some sort of injury, like, they will be able to maximize his potential given that attitude.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, Tony, because the only pick in the draft that I was a little bit unhappy about or unimpressed with was the next pick, which will be our third rounder, Deshaun Hall, only because, I mean, I think 8% of his the plays that he rushed a quarterback on in college, only 8% he actually got some type of penetration or pressure. And he was opposite Myles Garrett. Very, did not put up impressive stats at all. However, they say he's got the perfect body. He's the perfect stereotypical defensive end body-wise, and we traded up to get him. So I'm hoping what you're saying is right. You got all the physical tools. Now the coaching comes into play, and you coach him up.
Well, you think about this is that his name is Deshaun Hall, and he is played opposite of Myles Garrett at Texas A&M, right?
Right.
And the idea is, or I guess the concern that maybe some people had, it's not a concern as this is the reason he wasn't a higher touted prospect, is because, like you're saying, in that great circumstance of playing on the other side of Myles Garrett, who's the number 1 pick in the draft, you would think that your production would benefit because of that. And you didn't see, like you're saying, the actual numbers come about that you would expected. But he is 6'5", he's 266 pounds, and what they've commented about is his motor. So if you think about this, like you get this guy, you help work on his moves a little bit, you put 10 more pounds on him. 275, high motor dude. He's going to be able to relentlessly get after the quarterback. You're talking, like I've always said, in maybe 2 years, you may have latched on like what you did with a Charles Johnson in the past, or, to where you get a solid 8-year player that you were able to develop.
Let's hope. It's going to take some coaching.
Joey, the Panthers finished the draft with the most exciting picks, and I don't even know one of their names. And then that was the kicker we got.
Right, from Georgia Tech, the butt kicker. I think at butt kicker, I think is his.
Is that really his name?
Something like that. Yeah, I think he started 4 years. He's a mechanical engineering major who got his degree. So another smart guy who's got, they said, a really strong leg for kickoffs. And he's been
pretty big dude, too.
Yeah, he's been really accurate in his whole college career.
So we got a kicker in the 7th. His name is Harrison Butker. And the guy that we got in the 6th, Mel, who was he? Because he is an unknown player as well.
Oh, Alex Armah, the defensive end.
Armah Hammer?
Well, he's the defensive end turning fullback, right?
So defensive end, fullback, tight end.
He's the fullback that we've been looking for. But my favorite, though, is in the 5th round, they go and they pick Corn.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I almost kind of checked out in the second half of this draft. I was so exhausted by it. We had 2 days.
Those first 2 nights.
All right, so tell us a little bit about because this is the type of pick that the Panthers made in the past with, like, say, a Bené Benwickery, guy that could play the slot, right? But this is from a higher grade school, Miami, and what appears to be more athletic of a type player, almost like what they wanted Bené Benwickery to be.
And you know what? I think he is Captain Munnerlyn improved. Captain Munnerlyn 2.0. He plays with that same type of chip on his shoulder, same type of swagger. But, he did go to the U, and they say he was absolutely the best player on that U defensive squad last year. They say he is going to be somebody that really could be a steal of the draft.
Okay, so go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say he is a Captain Munnerlyn 2.0, just like you said. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's physical for his size because he's not a big guy. Not at all. But he plays very physical. He plays very physical, and he's a good tackler. He likes coming up and supporting the run.
Yeah.
Shaqeg called him cornbread. What kind of name is that? That's an interesting name, Corn.
Well, his name's Cornelius. So
okay. I was about to say.
Right. Corn, isn't it Corn Elder? Or is it Elder?
Hey,
Corn
man.
Elder?
Yeah, he's going to teach people to respect Elder.
I like it. Oh, I like that. That's
There
where
you
it's
go.
at. Respect
That's it.
the elder. All right, so this draft, guys, let's go back to what Joey was talking about earlier, the paradigm shift. So overall, we get in the back end, we add in, we needed that defensive end. That's a good thing. I think that the Corn Elder, that's the type of depth pick we needed because given the news today with the release of Tre Boston. So you're trying to round out your draft in the back. But this is clearly, this was like Joey was saying, a paradigm shift towards emphasizing like we got to win on the offense today.
Well, I think that's the way we should be looking at this because the defense has kept us in games time in and time out, and that can be a winning formula, but only for so long. You're going to have to get out there and score points. Now, if you can have the same defense you've had in the past and score points on top of that, you're going to really dominate some games because they're going to get you turnovers where your offense is going to be able to get back on the field and score more points.
That's what we were doing when we were 15-1. Both sides were clicking. Yeah.
That's the whole thing. When you're playing like that, everybody on the offense is happy because there's enough balls to go around.
Yeah. But this is what we saw this too was we're saying now some dudes are getting put on notice. And that is you go out and draft 2 wide receivers, wide receiver, and then the guy that's going to be a versatile dude, in McCaffrey. Like, so you can't, if everybody said that he plays all these different positions, we got to act like we're going to use him in that capacity. So there's only so much space on the wide receiving in the group to play. Right, so some dudes are going to get put on notice, and it's generating that competition that we need. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody is automatically off to any effect, or anybody is automatically going to make the team. But iron sharpens iron type thing, and what you have here too today, we saw part of that, or something that may be somewhat concerning on the other side of the ball in the defense, and that is Tre Boston was news that he was one of the 4 cuts today. Lou Young among one of those, or waivers, or whatever the exact name of it is. But Tre Boston, the controversial Tre Boston, is no longer a Panther. Was this surprising to you guys, though, given that the Panthers did not take a safety, which was there? There was opportunities there. And the Panthers didn't go after it. Were you guys surprised by this news?
I really was. I mean, I'm not the biggest Tre Boston fan. I think he makes you vulnerable when he's out there because he can play well, but then he can give up the big play real quick too. But, he did start 10 games last year, and he has some starting experience for us. So I don't understand why you get rid of somebody that's depth to begin with when you didn't get anybody in the draft. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're trying to make room to give Jeremy Cash, who we drafted last year out of Duke, a chance to move back to the safety position and compete there. Him and Dean Marlowe are the only other 2 safeties out there.
Well, I listened to the Carolina Huddle podcast, and Jeremy Cash was a guest on it. And I don't know if I listened to the full show that day. It was when Miranda was out of town, and I was like, had the kids. But he was talking about like how he put on 10 pounds this offseason, muscle, like in that there was not that he would have let the cat out of the bag if that move was coming, but there didn't seem to be any indication that he was doing anything but trying to play linebacker there. So if that is the case, like the Panthers, that's the type of gamble. That's a real gamble, and we've seen Gettleman take a similar type gamble in the past, guys, where you talk about on the offensive line. I tweeted this out today, is that, since our offensive line seems to be well addressed, Gettleman released the safety because he wanted to make us all nervous. Because this is like saying we're going to just put Byron Bell on the left side because he's left-handed.
Right. It's exactly right.
You got to hope that this stuff's going to work out. And what you've got is Mike Adams. There has to be there's going to be something. There better be some sort of plan there because that is going to be a difficult place to weather an injury if that's the case. All of a sudden I saw we're 1 injury away from Colin Jones being the starting strong safety. That's not exciting to hear.
I think that, there's going to be a second round or there's going to be another round at some point of players being released from teams. Actually, there should be a few more rounds of this. So I'm thinking the Panthers are hoping they can maybe one in from.
I think you're right.
Who's being cut from another team because they know this isn't it.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right.
But why cut Tre Boston now if you're speculating that you might get a safety later?
They did say they wanted to give him time to maybe find a home. Now,
which is nice of them. It is very nice of them. But at the same time, they had these 4 guys that they wanted to bring in, Boulware and Cox Jr. and whoever else. If they wanted to bring those guys in. So they got to
make some room.
And Boston is still young enough where he has a good chance of making a team and sticking.
Yeah. But man, he better learn how to tackle a little bit better.
For sure. He definitely has some things to work on. He knows that. But truthfully, that was nice of the organization because they could have been very cutthroat and not done it and waited until, we're breaking down later into the preseason and then done it.
Yeah, you're right, and just made him stick around and fight his tail off, and the idea that they never thought it was going to work out in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. So I will say that again, this shows you, or the question is how much does Dave Gettleman put into this position, or what type of player does he think can realistically play strong safety in the NFL? And maybe this is one of the players positions that he's had success getting away with in the past. For instance, you get Roman Harper or Mike Mitchell. You've kind of gotten some good deals at this position and you haven't been fleeced. So he hasn't been baited into paying big money or even allocating a lot of resources to the strong safety position. So he's probably saying if we're good in these other positions, we can find a guy that we can make do with at this position, maybe even be pretty good.
Right. They just have to be younger than Mike Adams. And if they're at least as good as he is, but younger, then I think that would be okay for a little while. Of course, he's going to continue, with the draft coming up, 2018. He's going to be looking for a safety, I'm sure. That'll be high on the priority list.
Yeah. Yep.
And as Panthers God FSU 23 on YouTube points out, don't forget about Dean Marlowe.
Yeah, and they said he's he was retained. Lou Young was crowded out at the cornerback position, but Dean Marlowe he did play in a game, I think, at one point. So you're right, and it probably just says this: we're going to try to get away with Mike Adams this year.
We are.
That's the goal. Is that you just have one of the older backfields again in the league, because Kirk Coleman isn't terribly old, though. I think he's only like 28 or something like that. 29.
What I think they're looking at is saying this: at the very worst case scenario, barring injury, we're stuck with Mike Adams.
We are kind of an old team if you think about it, though. We got some age. I mean, Thomas Davis is up there. Charles Johnson, Peppers, and this Adams dude have to be like the oldest dudes in the dang league.
Well, I don't know about that, but they're
Tom Brady,
older guys. Yes, Peppers. Yes, I think Adams is 33. Is that right, or 36?
I read somewhere we are the oldest defense in the NFL.
No, Adams is 36, dude. Maybe even 37.
1 year. I mean, tops.
1
year, 2. I don't even see 2 being the case.
Peekaboo Jones says that Coleman and Adams will be a combo in her opinion. And it absolutely can work. As long as those guys stay healthy.
Right. That's it.
Shaqued said he's 75 years old. That's their age combined. But all right, so I think, is there anything? What else you guys want to talk about that came out of this? The draft. We got the draft. We got the moves.
One area where we're a little thin too, or at least unproven as far as the backups go, is linebacker. We did lose a
AJ
starting
Klein.
quality reserve player. He could start for most other teams in the NFL.
Well, he's going to be starting probably in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I think it's gonna be his job.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Bullware?
I'm glad. I like Bullware. He's our heart, man.
You can make him a special teams player out of him easy. You know what I mean? You can find some good value. You need some guys like that too around.
Do you think he has any shot to become the next AJ Klein, where he gets some good playing time at linebacker?
He's gonna have to work his tail off. I mean, really, he's got the heart. There's no question there. It's just the physical limitations. You know, AJ Klein's a superior athlete, man. It really is. So Bullware is tough as nails, has a heart as big as a football stadium. But I think physically, you know, he's got some limitations he's got to overcome with technique and passion.
I think Mayo can play, right? I saw Tin Tizzy say that, and I think we do. You're right. We have Young, but think of the type of players we have back there. Is that first you've got a starting grade caliber player in Shaq Thompson who you could use in a much larger capacity if something were to happen, right? Second, you've got a guy like Jeremy Cash who may not be physically where you need a linebacker to be, but he's like one of those super smart, super gifted, like too good, too nice. Like he's he's going to be in the study hall all day long, right? And so he'll be fine if he had to do something. Mayo seems to have a little tenacity. So you put a guy like that, you do need a guy, that heart guy, that will balance out the bunch a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it isn't like in the past, we have always kept around some sort of guy where you could see like a Cash or a Mayo or even a Bullware becoming where they're never meant to be a starter. But you keep them there because they're always a good asset to have in case.
Very true. Very true. There was that guy 2 or 3 years ago, had the mohawk. I can't remember his name, but he had a lot of heart.
I think of James Anderson, who was a good linebacker. One, yeah. You know, he was a good linebacker who never was able to, you know, you could never say that, like, we got James Anderson, so this is game over. You know what I'm saying? But he was never
tackles 1 year.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that he's like that type of player. Somebody we have some guys back there. All right. Any other storylines coming out of this past weekend that you want to talk over? The draft, Gettleman, Ron Rivera. Actually, I think this is that Ron Rivera coming out and talking, like you guys said about Kelvin Benjamin. I think that's I'm starting to see this is that. At some point, Ron Rivera is going to have to. I think he's going to assert himself a lot this year as a coach. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm all for it. I am 100% for that. He's taking this team to places we didn't know they were capable of going. So I'm 100% for him stepping out and taking a bigger role within, you know, as the coach.
And if we could, Joe, if we could have a 2-year run where we reel off 10 wins, you know what I'm saying? Like if we could put 2 years together where we're kind of a 10-win team, I think you see Ron Rivera kind of chisel into like what a Tom Coughlin coach could be, one that is confident enough to just maintain, and you could find Ron Rivera turning into a 20-year coach in the league or some crazy mess like that. You know what I'm saying? But but we got to finally get that 10-win back-to-back type thing going on. And that's going to be difficult because you look around the league and Tampa Bay just got a lot better. The New Orleans Saints got temporarily better. Like, they're not going to be a cupcake this year to beat. Like, as usual, we're going to have to play crap out of them. And then the Atlanta Falcons were in the Super Bowl last year. They did lose by a lot of points very quickly from what I remember, I heard. But I mean, they lost a great lead. What? How many points was it again?
It was 28-3.
Oh,
3
gosh.
minutes
Is
to go
that
in
what
the
they
third
lost
quarter.
from? Dang. So, but still, everybody gets better in this draft, right? So the Panthers, to get to that place, at the same time I'm talking about Ron Rivera has an opportunity to become that type of coach. He also has an obstacle in front of him where 2 bad seasons could mean the very quick exit.
For sure.
So
Yeah,
I think he's going to have to make himself a president. Like, it's time. You know what I'm saying? It's his time, or else his head will be on the chopping block next.
It does feel like it's time, and to me, it feels like the window. I wouldn't say the window's closing, but that window is starting to get some WD-40 in the corners. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's time to start doing something.
How
Because
about
TV's
this?
not gonna
Is
be there
that
forever.
everybody's window is different.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Yeah.
you'll see is at some point everybody's window closes, so the team will continue. So I mean, like, I think that we have an opportunity to get into that, but to get to where we don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, we're gonna have to beat Tampa Bay. We're gonna have to beat Atlanta. So it's gonna be a tough competition this year. That's what I'm excited about, and I'm also like, holy cow, we've got to wait 4 months or 3 months to get to it.
Yes, sir. And I'm excited about that schedule, man. I'm excited. I'm ready to get it going. Is it September yet?
All right. I think that's good. I think we need to go ahead and get our ice up picks and get on out of this mug. Joe, you got one this week, or you want me to go first?
I do. I
All
do.
Let them have
And
it.
it's obvious, but it's apropos for the week we've just had. My ISA pick this week goes to an organization that was once a really proud organization. They have a deep, rich football history. Here as of late, they've been they've been mediocre at best, at very best. One time they were called the Monsters of the Midway. Now I think they're just guys in the Midway. It's sad to see such a proud organization, struggle like they have. But when you make moves like the Chicago Bears made in the draft this past weekend, essentially for all intents and purposes, jumping ahead of themselves to get a quarterback, it's things like that make you realize, hey, I thank God we're with the chicken place that we do. We have the administration and the full support of the owner like we do, and everybody's on the same page. Because the Chicago Bears really dropped the ball when they traded up to get Mitch Trubisky, because I truly don't believe the Niners had any intent of drafting him. John Lynch is a defensive guy. He knows to win, you got to start with the great defense. I really believe Solomon was the target. And
Could you imagine John Lynch? Could you imagine John Lynch getting that phone call saying, "I'm sorry, you want to do what now?"
I think it went the other way. I think if John Lynch pulled that one off, where he called them and was like some other team, and he just made it all up.
He's a genius.
What a great move.
I don't think that's what happened.
That's your first day on the job, Joe.
I tend to agree. I know, right? Talk about coming in and making a real big splash on the first day.
The greatest swindle in all of NFL history.
I'm just going to say, Chicago Bears, you certainly need to ice up for that trade you made in the first round. And hopefully this will be a very valuable and inexpensive lesson, but I tend to feel it won't.
All right. Mel, you got an ice up pick for us?
I do, and I have to be real honest. The Chicago Bears was going to be my ice up something, but that's okay. That's all right. There's plenty of ice to go around out there. Anytime I get a chance to ice up the Atlanta Falcons, I'm going to take it. And I love one of my favorite moments over the draft weekend was when they drafted Takkarist McKinley, who's a very good player. who was on the Panthers' radar, right? And I think if he around, we definitely were going to get him. But you see, he grew up a Panthers fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, to see him with that video.
Yeah, so that just says, hey, Atlanta Falcons, you got one class player there. You got somebody who knows what they like, what they're doing with a Panther fan joining the roster. So so Atlanta Falcons, I'm taking my shot at you again. Just in, they lost the Super Bowl after being up 28-3. So Atlanta Falcons, ice up, son.
Ice up.
Ice up. It always makes you feel good to ice them up. Like it's just like
right.
You should just set your alarm to do it. All right. My ice up pick this week goes to the New York Mets, who allowed 23 runs in a game. In fact, this is awesome, Joe. There were 23 hits in the game, and the Nationals hit the ball 23 times and had 23 runs.
Is there not a mercy rule?
Yeah. This guy, Anthony Rendon, he hit 3 homers. He went 6 for 6 and had 10 RBIs against them.
Oh, my gosh.
So the idea for me that the Mets, who actually, I mean, you think about it, and I know it's baseball and there's like 800 more games to go, but the Mets were in the playoffs last year, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And you kind of have a team I don't care what scenario it is. It's like 23 runs in a baseball game, and a professional baseball game is like crazy town, right? And then you look at that these dudes got like 10 home runs against them, 23 hits, 23 runs. There was like 10 home runs, and one dude goes 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs or some mess like that. It feels like that's like you're at a kid's, when you talk about a mercy rule, I feel like I'm at a dang Little League game and you're just watching one team just pummel the other. So to you and the New York Mets, I say ice up.
That is so embarrassing at the professional level to get that soundly.
Imagine they should refund the whole stadium's ticket, man. I don't care what day of the week it is.
Imagine that score in a football game. That type of eating in a football game.
Oh,
imagine how many.
It would be, what would it, Joe? It'd be like 125-3. Actually, it was 23-5. So it'd be like 125-14.
Exactly right. And if it was the Falcons that had that lead, of course they would blow it.
Exactly.
In the 10th. All right, or in the 9th. All right. That is the C3 podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we get into the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me at @Cat_Chronicles. Mel, it's good hanging out with you. What is your Twitter handle for everybody so they can get in touch with you?
Catch me anytime on Twitter at Panthers Drafter. Happy to talk really anything. Panthers, NFL, any sports, hit me up anytime.
Joe, where can they find you on Twitter?
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. And, this is the exciting time of the year for Panthers. So definitely willing to get involved in some conversations.
All right, everybody, if you like what you hear, we encourage you to smash that like button right below. And please give the show a share on any social media platform, because what we do every week is we try to bring Panther fans together and continue that conversation. At CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We'll see you next Tuesday.